Imagine this, an army equipped with machine guns, thousands of rounds of ammunition, trained soldiers, and a clear objective: eliminate the enemy. Now imagine that the enemy isn't another nation, not rebels, not monsters, but birds. Just emus. Tall, awkward, flightless birds that look like they forgot what they were doing. It sounds ridiculous, almost made up. And yet, somehow, the army lost. This is the unbelievable story of the Great Emu War, one of the strangest and most ironic events in history. To understand how things reached this point, you have to go back to 1932 in Western Australia. The country was still dealing with the aftermath of World War I. Thousands of soldiers had returned home, many trying to rebuild their lives after years of conflict. To support them, the government provided farmland in remote areas, encouraging them to become farmers and start fresh. But the land they were given was far from ideal. The soil was dry, the climate harsh, and farming there was already a challenge. Crops required constant effort, and even then, success wasn't guaranteed. These men had survived war, only to find themselves struggling against nature. Still, they pushed forward, determined to make it work. Then came the emus. Every year, after their breeding season, emus migrated inland in search of food and water. In 1932, around 30,000 of them moved into these farming regions, and what they found was perfect. The farms, filled with wheat crops, offered an easy and abundant food source. The destruction was immediate. The emus trampled crops, ate large amounts of grain, and tore through fences as they moved. These fences weren't just barriers. They were meant to keep rabbits out. Once broken, rabbits flooded in, making the damage even worse. What started as a problem quickly became a crisis. For the farmers, many of whom were former soldiers, it felt like a new kind of war. But this enemy didn't follow rules or patterns. The farmers tried to fight back themselves, shooting the birds and repairing fences, but nothing worked on a large scale. The emus kept coming, and the damage kept growing. Desperate, the farmers turned to the government for help. What happened next is what makes this story so famous. Instead of treating it as a wildlife issue, the government decided to send in the military. Soldiers were deployed with Lewis machine guns, the same weapons used during World War I. The idea seems simple. Find the emus, shoot them, and solve the problem. But nothing went as planned. When the soldiers first encountered a large group of emus and opened fire, they expected panic and easy targets. Instead, the birds reacted in a completely different way. They broke into smaller groups and ran in different directions, making it incredibly difficult to hit them. Emus are fast, capable of reaching speeds of up to 50 kilometers per hour. They could cover ground quickly and change direction with ease. The soldiers fired repeatedly, but the results were poor. Despite using large amounts of ammunition, they managed to kill only a few birds. Most escaped without difficulty. It quickly became clear that this wasn't going to be easy. Trying to improve their strategy, the soldiers came up with a new plan. They mounted a machine gun onto a truck, hoping to chase the emus down and shoot them while moving. In theory, it sounded effective. In practice, it failed badly. The terrain was rough and uneven, making it nearly impossible to aim accurately from a moving vehicle. The truck bounced across the land, while the emus moved freely and unpredictably. The soldiers couldn't keep up, and they couldn't get clear shots. Once again, the emus escaped. Over the next several days, the military continued its efforts. Thousands of rounds were fired, but the results remained disappointing. In one case, nearly 10,000 rounds of ammunition were used to kill only a few hundred emus. It was inefficient and frustrating. What made things worse was how the emus seemed to behave. They didn't move in large, easy-to-target groups anymore. Instead, they split into smaller clusters, making them harder to track and hit. Some observers even noted that certain birds appeared to act as lookouts, staying alert while others fed. At the first sign of danger, the group would scatter instantly. There were also reports of emus surviving bullet wounds and continuing to run, adding to the growing frustration. Whether exaggerated or not, these stories contributed to the sense that the birds were unusually resilient. As news spread, the situation quickly became public, and then it became embarrassing. Newspapers began covering the operation, often with humor and disbelief. The idea that a modern military force was struggling against birds seemed absurd. What had started as a serious mission turned into a national joke. Under increasing pressure and with little success to show, the government eventually called off the operation. The soldiers were withdrawn, and the emus remained. There was no official statement declaring defeat, but the outcome was obvious. The military had failed to achieve its goal, and the emus continued as before. In every practical sense, the emus had won. After the military stepped back, the government took a different approach. Instead of using soldiers, they introduced a bounty system, paying hunters for each emu they killed. This method proved far more effective. Farmers and hunters, who understood the land and the behavior of the animals, were able to manage the population better. Over time, improvements in fencing and farming practices also helped reduce the problem. The situation didn't disappear entirely, but it became manageable. Looking back, the reason for the emus' success becomes clear. It wasn't intelligence in the human sense, but natural advantage. They were fast, resilient, and unpredictable. They didn't behave in ways the soldiers expected, and that made them difficult targets. The military, on the other hand, approached the situation using traditional tactics, methods designed for human enemies. They expected structure and predictability. Instead, they faced chaos and instinct. It was a mismatch from the start. Today, the Great Emu War is remembered as one of the most bizarre events in history. It's often told as a joke, but it also carries an important lesson. Power and advanced weapons don't guarantee success, especially when facing something you don't fully understand. In 1932, a modern military force went up against a group of birds and failed to achieve its objective. The emus didn't win through strategy or planning, they simply did what they were built to do. And somehow, that was enough.